For more than 150 years, Trinity University has celebrated human inquiry. Our innovative curriculum is rooted in a distinctive blend of the liberal arts and sciences. Students and faculty hone creative curiosity by answering questions and questioning answers. In a supportive, interdisciplinary environment, they seek ways to build bridges and make connections. And with intentional meaning and purpose, they are driven by a sense of duty to themselves and to the world. Add in opportunities for undergraduate research, experiential learning, and nationally recognized pre-professional programs in business, communication, healthcare, education, and entrepreneurship, you get the full Trinity experience. The liberal arts, plus. And while this experience may end with a Trinity degree, it's just the beginning of a lifetime of inspired exploration and perpetual discovery.
Hello and welcome here to Trinity University's 2022 Tiger Network broadcast of the Trinity University Tigers, the 17th ranked Tigers, hosting the 6th ranked University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, the Warhawks, coming in, the season opener for Wisconsin-Whitewater. And coaches are still meeting at home plate, going over the ground rules. And we'll take a quick look here at the starting lineup. We'll start first with our visiting Warhawks. And it's going to be Zach Campbell leading off in center field. Sam Vomhoff, second base. Jacob DeMeyer over in right field. Batting cleanup will be Matt Corman, the designated hitter. First base will be Nick Paget. Left fielder, Matt Scollin. And the catcher, Ryan Norton. He'll be catching Muir today. We'll get more on him in just a bit. Third base will be David Rubin, and at short, Dylan Roast. And I am Josh Michigamba. I'm joined by Luke Terry. And Luke, welcome back.
Thanks, Josh. It's good to be back on the call here in San Antonio for what is the second weekend of action for these Tigers at home. Got to see a great series. Some great action across three games last weekend against Babson University, who came down from the Northeast. And I'd feel rest assured that these Warhawks are going to come in and they're going to provide us with action that's just as good as what we saw last weekend to open the year.
Yeah, and as the Tigers start to take the field before the national anthem, you get a look there at their starting lineup. It's a bit different. I mean, we're 7 games in, and this is lineup number 7 for us on the season. And I think one of the big notices that I see on this lineup is a return of Tyler Pettit. They're batting in the 9th spot, but more importantly, we're going to see him back behind the dish here for the Tigers. And it's going to be Baker leading us off at second, Nathan Brolick, the designated hitter, batting second. Ezra Gore in center field, where he has been all season. MJ Metz trolling everything over on the corner at first, bats cleanup. Jack Vonderhaar in left field. Brian Schaub all the way across and right. And then Jack Wisniewski over at third base. Michael Montreza will be your shortstop today. And then the aforementioned Pettit, who will be catching Garza. And we'll get more on Garza here in a minute. We're going to take a short break as the team goes through the national anthem, and we'll be back in just a bit.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, just as the boys have done out on the baseline, rise and move your bats for the playing of our national anthem.
Alrighty, welcome back, and our apologies. Have issues playing the national anthem as we stream over YouTube. Sometimes that gets hit for copyright, so unfortunately not able to play that for you over the speakers. But get a look here at the infield, and as we mentioned, surrounding Zachary Garza is going to be Metz over at first, Baker at second, Montreza at short, and Wisniewski over at third. And as we look at the Warhawks lineup, I mean, this is a program that is, very, very similar to Trinity for those that haven't kept up with Division III overall. And their last appearance in the College World Series, I believe, coming in 2016, the same year that Trinity's last appearance was. So, a lot of parallels between the two teams. Last year, the Warhawks 40-7, and coming a game away, I believe, as they fell to Adrian in their regional. So, this series, as we look at it, it's a 4-game series. We'll have today's game and then the doubleheader tomorrow, and then the two teams will go over to the San Antonio Missions AA ballpark and play the game on Saturday, since we are hosting a track meet, which is just behind our track facility, is just behind home plate, and an opportunity for both teams to kind of go play in a bigger ballpark and kind of get the fun and excitement of that, and something that the programs are used to, but two teams vastly different than they were a year ago, even though Whitewater brings back quite a few people. And you take a look at Garza warming up. Lineup that he will face: Campbell, Vomhoff, and DeMeyer to lead off. Two lefties and a righty, as the Warhawks will get set here in just a minute.
Yeah, and those couple of lefties at the top of the lineup for Whitewater today, Josh. Going to be an important start for Garza against those couple of guys. Opportunity to start the game really, really well, get his footing under him. He's a guy that missed all of the 2021 campaign last year after having undergone Tommy John surgery. And he's already made one appearance on the season for the Tigers. Came into the action last Saturday against Babson, but only came away with one out, put in the game, and a little bit of a jam, and coaches felt it would be best to take him out, put him in a more comfortable scenario this weekend. He gets to start here on Thursday, and it keeps Corey Cater intact for the full week rest that he's used to, so he'll get to start tomorrow in the 3 o'clock game. Trying to limit the impact on this staff this weekend, and Garza's first pitch is skipped in there. That fastball well short of the plate, but Pettit knocking it down. Another name that you mentioned in the pregame, Josh, Tyler Pettit, returning behind the plate for the Tigers today, someone that was certainly sorely missed in the weekend series last weekend against Babson. A couple of younger faces filling in for Pettit, who missed due to sickness, and they did a nice job filling in, but hard to replace a guy that hit near 400 in conference play last year and was rock solid behind the plate, catching the entirety of Trinity's staff last season.
Take a look here at Zach Campbell. As you saw the stats on there, no stats, of course, as this is the season opener here for Wisconsin-Whitewater, and that one grounded over to Montreza at short. Comes up with a very strong throw and retires Campbell. Campbell hit .331 a year ago, starting 40 of his 43 games on the season at 163 at-bats. And he is one down here as we get started early on.
Yeah, Josh, but from this camera angle that we have right now, you can see how clearly that Campbell was able to turn such a routine ground ball into a really, really close play over there at first. I think one of the things that jumps off the page when you look and read about him is the fact that he led this Whitewater team last year in stolen bases, finishing with 12. So important for the Tigers to be cognizant of statistics like that, especially on those ground balls that can so easily get away from you.
Stepping in now will be Sam Vomhoff, another lefty. I've got 3 lefties in this lineup today, and the next one will come down in the 6th spot with Scullin, the left fielder. But Vomhoff, a year ago, led the team, started 37 games, hit 400, 140 at-bats, had 56 hits, and of those, 15 for extra bases, including a home run, 5 triples that led all Warhawks. And Garza delivers. That one's fouled off. Try to get you an update on the stats as they get pushed out by our sports information department and then fed into our box score.
Umpire behind the plate signaling that it's 2-2 in this current count. Garza already retired the leadoff hitter for the Warhawks. That was Campbell in that first at-bat of the game. That pitch from Garza missing up and into the left-handed Vomhoff, running the count full here in the top of the first inning, excuse me.
Meyer wakes on deck. And that one grounded over to first, taken by Vonderhaar, and covering will be Garza, and that's going to be thrown towards the dugout. Had it backing up. We'll keep Vomhoff over at first, but some of the early struggles again for the Tigers defensively. We're already starting to see maybe a little bit of the struggle.
And it was a similar issue that the Tigers ran into early on in the game last weekend. You see that Garza does a nice job of getting over to cover. Throw just ultimately not there in the end from Vonderhaar. It's mistakes like those that really have seemed to hurt the Tigers over the majority of the past two seasons. Done a lot of things that have really shot themselves in the foot. It's obviously an incredible talented team. Coaching staff bringing in a roster that's absolutely stacked with talent, coming out of high school, doing a great job of bringing in transfer athletes from a number of different institutions and getting them on the field together here in San Antonio. But I haven't seen the necessary focus or intensity that a team really needs to be successful at the level that this program has seen in the past, especially back in 2016. You mentioned Whitewater making their last appearance in the College World Series, obviously Trinity winning it all that season. So these Tigers to get back to that point, certainly something that all of them want to do, need to be better at making the routine plays like those even early in the year.
As Coach Dave Smith and Tyler Pettit go out and visit Garza, we check in on Jacob DeMeyer. 44 games started a year ago, played in 46, batted .360. I mean, these numbers are just crazy, and they're all up and down this lineup. Everybody returning pretty much knows what they have to do. And as you mentioned, I mean, a team that has an identity, a team that's, looking to come in here, ranked 6th in the country on the preseason, maintaining that 6th rank here in the D3Baseball.com poll. An opportunity for them to come in and say, hey, Trinity, you guys beat Birmingham Southern, who's highly ranked. Let's see what we can do against you guys and see if we can't bring it together and have some success. Two 2-0 for DeMeyer. Garza sets. It's always nice to see him come back with a good pitch after the mound visit.
Yeah, absolutely, especially having pitched well to this point in the inning. Obviously unfortunate that ball got away from Vonderhaar and you have a guy reach when it looks like all of a sudden you should be only one out away. But to turn around, throw a changeup first pitch to the 3-hole hitter on the opposite side, it's a really good sign from a guy that we haven't seen a whole lot of to this point.
Showing bunt on the 3-1 pitch and taking for a strike. Now he's going to work with a full count. Assuming DeMeyer doesn't roll this into a double play, Corman, the senior cleanup man, waits on deck. Corman second on the team a year ago in batting average. So Garza's got his work cut out trying to bring this one through, and that one will find its way into right field. So 2 aboard now and still just 1 down. Whitewater striking early here in their 2022 campaign.
And hopefully get a replay for you right here. See Garza, 3-2 count, makes a good competitive pitch a little up in the zone, outside half of the plate. Really induces exactly what he wanted with that one right there. Just sent through the right side of the infield. The Tigers playing in that double play depth takes them a little bit out of position for a ground ball that typically they'd probably get to, and all of a sudden Warhawks have something going here in the top of the first inning.
So Corman stepping in. Mentioned second on the team a year ago, 379 average. Started all 46 games he played in last season. 8 home runs. That led the Warhawks. Now Garza trying to do what he can to avoid allowing this to get to a 3-0 lead here early. We talked about it early on. Talked about it, I guess, before the game started, Luke, and an opportunity to take a guess at what we were going to see today. And at least I felt like we were probably going to see quite a bit of runs scored. Just early season baseball, it's pretty typical. Although I will say, having looked at some of the other scores against teams that have been real competitive playing each other early on, there have been a lot of low-scoring games early on in the season. So, a chance to maybe prove me wrong with a low-scoring game here, see if Garza can get out of the inning. But instead, it's going to be a 4-pitch walk, and that will load the bases.
Yeah, and for Garza, especially in the later half of that at-bat, certainly pitched to exactly what you want to do when you fall behind. You mentioned the fact that Corman steps in, having hit 379 on the year last year, but I think in that sort of position, with a couple runners already on base, the statistic that you're most worried about were those 8 home runs that you mentioned. Garza obviously not wanting to put anything over the heart of the plate, but a 4-pitch walk isn't something that Coach Dave Smith is going to be too happy with, and you see him venture out to the mound to take the ball from the second-year Tiger, and we'll await the pitching change.
And we'll take a short break and come back in just a moment and get you caught up on Jack Schmidt, the first out of the pen here for the Tigers. All right, welcome back. It'll be Paget stepping in here for the Warhawks, and he steps in with the bases loaded, only one down. And his opposition is Jack Schmidt. Schmidt coming in here in the first in relief. And I think really an opportunity. You know, from his perspective, he's one pitch away from getting out of the jam. From Whitewater's perspective, they are one pitch away from blowing this wide open before Trinity even steps to the plate. Paget, a year ago, didn't start very many games, just one start in 21 appearances, but was electric, 7 for 9 at the plate. So it seemed like every time he stepped in, he did his job. Breaking ball down and away on 1-2.
And a good job by Schmidt coming in here, getting ahead in the count early on, going up 0-2. Afforded him the opportunity to waste a couple pitches, but that last breaking ball, certainly not as close as he'd want it, but that changeup, his go-to pitch in his career so far in Tiger uniform. Absolutely electric right there. Had Paget well out in front of it. Gets the Warhawk swinging on it. Now for the Tigers, after a real rough start to the inning, bases loaded, just one out. They're just, as you mentioned, Josh, the pitch away from getting back into the dugout and bringing the bats up to the plate.
Now we mentioned the third lefty in this lineup was going to be Skolin down in the 6th spot, and here we are, 2 down, bases still loaded. Schmidt working quickly and working ahead now, 0-1. That one, good block by Pettit.
I think that's something that you alluded to that we really missed in last weekend's series was Pettit's affinity to blocking the baseball behind the plate. Not a whole lot of balls that cleanly got past the catchers that suited up for the Tigers a week ago, but Pettit's affinity to really just kill everything, stop those pitches dead in their tracks and knock them straight down in front of them, something the Tigers certainly missed out on.
Yeah. A couple of close games, and just every little bit difference, every little bit makes the difference. And you know, it's kind of the difference in the Tigers maybe sitting at 5-1 right now as opposed to sitting at 3-3 on the season. You know, and I think from a pitcher standpoint, you love to have a guy like that back there. And you know, I've talked about like his ability to frame pitches and help get his pitching staff strikes is one of the best I've seen at the D3 level in a very long time. And they're a pretty good example of that. It was a great pitch from Schmidt, but an excellent job by Pettit to help sell it, and fantastic for Schmidt to help us get us out of the inning.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Looked like another one of those changeups that Jack Schmidt has relied on so heavily to this point. But just as you mentioned, that changeup, a little bit of fade on it. Tyler Pettit doing a great job sticking that one right on the corner of the plate, putting the Tigers in the dugout at a game that's still knotted at 0.
When the Tigers come to the plate, it'll be Baker, Brolick, and Gore. We'll be back in just a minute here on the Tiger Network. All right, welcome back. Bottom of the first now, and the Tigers' chance here at the plate. It's going to be Jack Baker, second baseman, stepping in. First pitch fouled off. See Baker batting .444. Hasn't had a whole lot of at-bats to this point. He's been alternating in and out as the Tigers have tinkered with that starting lineup for quite a bit. Looking to see if they can find the magic that works, and that's going to be quickly 0-2. And really no shame here working against Weston Muir. He's 17-1 in his career, 9-1 a year ago. Second team All-American, All-Region honors. That pitch down low, they're going to check over at first. I'm going to say Baker went around, and that will be one down. And we didn't even get to the strikeouts here, but 90 strikeouts a year ago and only 73 innings pitched. And so just kind of know that he's going to come after you. And Baker down on 3 strikes. I think it was just a good at-bat for those sitting at home that don't know who Weston Muir is. Now you pretty much have a pretty good look at him right there.
Yeah, certainly assume that's indicative of what Muir's going to come and bring to the game, type of approach that he's going to come at it with. Saw a couple of fastballs early in that at-bat, but Baker certainly stepping into the box, ready to swing it. You talk about those strikeouts in relation to the number of innings pitched, and you have to assume that big breaking ball that we saw dropped in there at the end of that at-bat has a lot to do with it. So early on, just a couple of pitches that we've seen, but certainly seems like the Tigers will have their job cut out for him. Muir, a guy that enters this season looking to build upon one last year in which he was named to the first team All-Conference as a starting pitcher. It's the second such guy that the Tigers have seen on the year. Obviously, opening up with the series against Lynchburg is Nathan Brolick. Another Tiger goes down swinging here on just 4 pitches this time. Brings Ezra Gore into the box now, hoping to have a little bit more success for the Tigers here in the bottom of the first.
Ezra Gore, one of the leading hitters here for Trinity in the 2022 campaign. 375, 10 RBI for everyone scored and a home run coming in the opening weekend over in Birmingham, Alabama. Muir just rolling through at the moment. 2 strikeouts on 2 batters. That one will be outside. Most of that crowd noise you hear is going to be closer to the Whitewater side of the field, coming off the first base side. That one will miss up and away. Now 3-0. Got Metz on deck, who's been very hot over the first 2 weeks of play. Gore with a lot of speed if he were to get on. And he will via a walk. So 2 strikeouts and a walk now issued from Muir. And Tigers with an opportunity. And they've shown how well they've been able to put Gore and Metz together and kind of work a little bit of magic. Last week we saw it with Gore driving in some runs. A couple of doubles against Babson with the bases loaded. Now Metz hitting .429, 8 runs scored, 4 RBI, and a home run. That also coming back in that Birmingham series. Tigers played Lynchburg, Wash U, and Birmingham Southern. Birmingham Southern coming in ranked in the top 5 in the latest D3Baseball.com poll. Babson receiving votes. They received a few more, but didn't crack the top 10. Tigers falling from 15 down to 17. And the pitch to Metz was up, and that's got to be way up. Metz standing in 6'6", and that might be a little short against him. As if you told me he was 6'8", I'd just take your word for it.
Yeah, Josh, absolutely right about that. And with that stature, a lot of moving pieces in Met's swing, but when he puts everything together, the ball has a tendency to move a long, long way, as it did right there, but able to camp out under that one was DeMeyer in right field, and Whitewater, after a couple of quick outs, being able to get on base and Gore at the end of this inning, ultimately get out of it with a little bit of a scare as Mets put a charge into that one. Again, able to haul it in just ahead of the warning track was DeMeyer. And we'll be back in the top of the second inning. Jack Schmidt still going on the mound for the Tigers.
Here in the second, it's going to be Norton, Rubin, and Rost for the Warhawks. And Norton checking in. Hit .290 a year ago in 37 games. Had 40 hits on the campaign, 8 doubles, and 4 home runs. Take a look at the 2 backstops here today, Norton and Pettit. And Jack Schmidt now up to an inning and a third, knocking that whip all the way down to .75 with those 2 strikeouts. And it'll go right back up as he hits Norton on the 1-1 pitch. So another runner aboard. His breaking ball just couldn't get a grip on it the way he wanted to. Absolutely fantastic day here in San Antonio today. It was probably about 75. Mostly sunny all day long until we hit about time that it was for BP. Then the clouds started to roll in. And that'll help keep it a warm evening here in San Antonio. David Rubin, the runner aboard. Rubin started a game last year, 9 appearances overall, was 4 for 10 at the plate. Another one of those role players a year ago, getting the start here in opening day. And Schmidt coming back with a strike. Even in the count at 1.
Good response from Schmidt in this at-bat already. As soon as I get going there, see a pitch get away from him, run up and in on Rubin. Looks like that one might have even got him on the helmet, but makes his way down to first base. Unbothered, seemingly, for Schmidt here, putting the Tigers in a similar position they were in the first inning.
Yeah, I mentioned that the cloud cover is probably going to help keep this a warm evening. I wonder if it's keeping it a little too warm with some of the sweat here for Schmidt. I don't know if he's over-gripping or if it's just getting away from him. And he's now finding himself into a jam. We hit the 9 spot in the order, about to turn back over, but first, Dylan Rost stepping in, the freshman infielder.
I think you certainly raise an interesting question, Josh. Seen a couple pitches getting away from Schmidt here in this inning. The first of those being that breaking ball that seemingly just slipped out of his hand, but it looked like that last one that ultimately hit Rubin was a fastball that just got away from Schmidt. So maybe, as you alluded to, some of the conditions here in San Antonio, a little bit of a warmer evening than we've experienced over the past couple of days and weeks, playing an impact on the pitching staff early on here for the Tigers.
Ross, one of two newcomers to the Whitewater starting lineup here, along with Skolin. He's got a chance now. 2 aboard, nobody out here in the second. 1-1 pitch. That one down in the dirt. Runners will advance on both bases, and so now 2 in scoring position for Whitewater, and it's kind of a different situation than when Schmidt entered the game. Came in with 2 aboard and 1 down, needing to get some outs through 2 strikeouts, but back-to-back 1-1 pitches have put runners aboard on a hit by pitch, and then that 1-1 pitch in the dirt allowed them to move ahead. Sails the 2-1 now, in danger of loading the bases.
Yeah, and perhaps most importantly about those last couple of pitches, that it leaves the door open without the presence of that force out at the bags in the infield. But for Schmidt right here, as he walks Rost, won't have to deal with that problem for very long. So now for the Tigers, just a pitch away from getting a couple of outs here in the top of the second. And as we're so used to Josh at the Division III level, certainly would be willing to just trade an out or a couple of outs here for 1 run, knowing how many that both of these teams are truly capable of putting up on the scoreboard this evening. For Schmidt, we've seen that change up a couple of times here to start the night. It's certainly a pitch that would give the Tigers an opportunity to do so, but we'll see what happens here as Coach Dave Smith comes out to the mound. Looks like it'll just be a discussion between the 2 of them.
Is it a regular discussion or is it a long discussion to see if he can't get more time for somebody warming up? See, that whip has doubled here with these 3 batters in the second, and that will be it for Schmidt on this Thursday evening. And Tigers move on to their 3rd pitcher through 3 outs to this point in the game. Take a quick break. Join you back here in just a second. Bases loaded for Whitewater when we return. on for the Tigers will be Jack Martinez. Martinez with a couple of strikeouts last weekend. And he will look in against Zach Campbell. Bases loaded, nobody down here, top of the second. First pitch grounded up the middle. And that will bring in one. And coming around to make it two. We'll throw down to third is actually going to get the runner Rost. So it will result in an out, but the Warhawks trade that out for 2 runs and take the lead. So Campbell, who had grounded out to short in his first at-bat, coming up with a big single. You see the throw from Ezra Gore, striking down Rost over at third.
Yeah, but Campbell doing a really great job in that at-bat, stepping into the box, facing a new pitcher in Martinez, and immediately being prepared to swing the bat, knowing early on in that count the Tigers in trouble. He was likely going to get a really hittable pitch, and that's exactly what he did see with that fastball that was right down the heart of the plate. Obviously a tough spot for Martinez to come into here this week after a really nice performance in the home opening series last weekend for the Tigers. Came in, threw an inning in the third, struck out 2, but with no one to put Campbell, had to attack him right away, and the veteran for the Warhawks was absolutely prepared.
Baumhoff's not liking that call, but that seems pretty consistent. We saw the breaking ball over the inner part of the plate called back in the bottom of the first. The Tigers getting the benefit of that call here in the top of the second. And so Baumhoff down on strikes. He had reached on error back in the first. That kind of started a lot of the movement and juggling against the Tiger pitching. And now DeMeyer with the game's only hit through the first time through the order for the Warhawks. Singling back an inning ago. Fouls that one off, and it's quickly 0-2.
Yeah, Josh, but on top of that, it's also quickly 2 outs here in the inning for the Tigers. Really glazed over what was a really heads-up play by Ezra Gore, playing out there in center field defensively for the Tigers. It's a really hard hit ball up the middle off the Whitewater bats this inning that drove in 2, but rather than trying to throw out that lead or that second runner at home, Gore doing a really nice job of making that strong throw to third and taking the out on the base paths rather than trying to get a little bit overly aggressive.
Over to Montreza. He'll take care of it, and Martinez comes in. I'd say did the job. He does allow 2 of the inherited runners to come across, but it's Tigers out of that jam, and as you mentioned, that incredible heads-up play from Gore, helping start that momentum back for the Tigers. They give up 2 here in the second, but they now have a chance to come back to the plate and see if they can start scratching back here down a pair of runs. Down to bottom of the second, Jack Vonderhaar to step in here for the Tigers. 222 on the season, and down numbers here for Vonderhaar, the senior outfielder. First pitch pops it up, shallow left field. Ross going back on it and recording the out. One Pitch one down here for Mir. Just really tough start to the season for Jack, as he even put in some extra time today. That'll give way with one down for Brian Schaub.
You're absolutely right, Josh, though, for Vonderhaar last weekend series in that first game that we watched him in. Had a couple of tough breaks from the batter's box. Saw him hit a rocket down the right field line, but unfortunately snagged over there by a first baseman. Later in that same game, did a good job of taking the pitch that was given to him and driving something the other way down the left field line, pretty deep into the outfield, as Schaub gets caught right there in between and just waves as at that one, as Mir now with another strikeout here on the day has 2 gone in the bottom of the second. Vonderhaar in that one that he's sitting down the left field line was robbed by a diving catch in the outfield. So right now, I think we're seeing a lot of these Tiger hitters still just trying to find their footing in the box. You mentioned that Mir is the second pitcher that they faced on the year that received some all-region rankings at the end of last year's campaign. So it's been a tough task for the Tigers to this point, certainly. You'd have to imagine that it's going to pay dividends for them. Maybe not early on in the year, but certainly as conference play approaches.
You look up and down the Trinity lineup, and you've got guys who, over the last few years, have had fantastic seasons. And some of them just not really getting it going here early on. But you also have quite a few guys who have high propensity for either big-time hits or, you know, basically they're going to take strikeouts. You know, it's a high strikeout rate team when we approach to the plate. So, you know, a guy that comes in with 90 strikeouts and 73 innings a year ago like Mir has, it's not a surprise to see the strikeouts so far. And this is a great sign here for Jack Wisniewski, coming in batting just 118 on the season. And he finds his way through the left side for Tiger's second hit of the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's especially promising considering the fact that this is what we've been waiting for from Wisniewski in regards to hitting, not just finding a way to put the ball into play, but the fact that he is the Tiger hitter in this order that is most prone to using the entire field, as Montreza follows up, putting that one back up the middle, and all of a sudden, similar position what the Tigers were at in the first inning. Couple quick outs on the board for these Warhawks, but Tigers doing a nice job of not going down without a fight. And now they have a couple runners on, as we see that one actually kicked off the glove of Rost out there at shortstop and found its way into the outfield.
And I said earlier that Wisniewski had the second hit of the Tigers. He was the second base runner for the Tigers, but then Montreza comes up, and he's got the second hit. And then what a luxury for any offense here, having the 9 spot be somebody like Tyler Pettit. Pettit looks in at strike 1. Pettit, slow start, 0 for 9 so far at the plate. But in his career, especially here at Trinity's Field with the short left field wall, has done damage. And they're going to work him outside, and he's down 0-2, so Mir doing a great job painting that outside corner, keeping it away from Pettit. .310 down the left field line. I think it's .313 down the right. There's a jet out pretty quickly, get to just about 400 in dead center. That one's too far outside. Nice job by Norton trying to frame it, but probably not as subtle as he wanted that.
Yeah,
it'll be 1-2.
Quicker reactions behind the plate, especially when you're moving one direction, trying to stick it so hard that your arm and your glove move back in the opposite. It's really a sure tell to the umpire behind the plate that it wasn't a strike. As Mir delivers another nice breaking ball right there and began his trot off the diamond to the dugout. That one also missing a little bit outside. We talked earlier in this one already about Pettit behind the plate and his tendency to frame pitches, but I think it also translates to his ability in the batter's box to really be cognizant of the strike zones.
Pettit rips this one over to short, play to second, and Whitewater allows 2 hits in the inning. They are through 2 with a 2-0 lead. We'll be back here in just a moment for the top of the 3rd inning. Get a good look at that. Easy work, toss over to second. And we'll be back here for the 3rd in just a bit. Top of the 3rd, Martinez back out there for the Tigers. And Corman stepping in. The intentional walk back in the 1st inning. So he's seen 4 pitches, and now that's number 5, and the first time he's seen a strike. Missing low and away, 379 a year ago for Corman.
Steps off after that second pitch. Really have to highlight the job that he's done and limited work on the season for the Tigers. Certainly coming in before the season actually got underway. There's a coaching staff that really raved about this kid and his approach to the game, especially his competitive nature. I think is something that's really paid dividends early on in the couple appearances that we have seen him in. Tendency to just really attack the strike zone, as he does again right there with another great breaking ball that just catches a hitter looking for another strikeout early on in this one. Something that the Tigers have really lacked out of the bullpen, to have guys come in the game and immediately attack the strike zone without needing that adjustment period to get a feel for it, to recognize and become cognizant of the guys they have on base. Martinez early on this year has come in and he's thrown strikes. It's really the only job that you have as a pitcher.
Nick Padgett steps in. He struck out in his first appearance. 6'2" sophomore out of New Berlin, Wisconsin. And I think Martinez right now giving a little bit of hope and relief to both Tigers head coach Tim Scannell and pitching coach Dave Smith, coming out there and just hitting everything around the strike zone. The Tigers have already burned 2 pitchers here, and we're an inning into the 3rd, or an out into the 3rd. That one chopped down third base line and foul.
Really the only problems that you get into coming into a game and bringing this type of approach with you is losing control and letting these hitters from Whitewater really tee off on any pitches that get left right around the plate, especially when you're going up 0-2, 1-2 in counts. You want to be competitive with those pitches, but don't want to give these guys anything too much over the heart of the plate, especially after a lot of the numbers that you've read off for these hitters that returned from last year. Many of them far upwards of those 300 marks on averages, driven in, some of them upwards of 60 runs, number of home runs across the board. So not individuals that you want to mess with at any point.
Badger doing a good job of staying alive after he was able to push that 0-2 to 3-2. Yeah, I mean, there are no weak spots. You know, I could biasly say there are no weak spots in either lineup, although the Tigers, you know, struggling at the plate so far here in the 2022 campaign. But you look up and down the Warhawk lineup, and it's just the numbers just stand out. And it's what I think a lot of Tiger fans have grown accustomed to, seeing their lineups, having 8-9 guys batting over 320. You know, just ridiculous numbers. And that's how you get to become a program, wins 40 games a year, like Whitewater pretty much does consistently. Padgett lays off the 3-2 offering as it hits outside. I think Tigers dugout wanted that call a little bit more than I think it was probably deserved. It looked about 2 or 3 inches off the plate, but one on, one down for Skolin.
You're certainly right about the Tiger dugout being upset about that last pitch call. Martinez equally as frustrated with it. Saw a couple of shots of him stalking around the mound. See how he responds in these next couple of at-bats, especially in the later half of the order here. So he gives a check over to first base, but Padgett will be back in there safely. Martinez, guy that we talked about, his competitiveness. See what it's like to have him up on the mound after he gets frustrated with a call behind the dugout.
Montreza's only move with the runner in motion is first, and there'll be 2 down, but a runner in scoring position. Nice little chopper there for Skolin. And a great dig by Metz. Fantastic look there from Reed, one of the student workers, one of the many student workers helping bring you all of the coverage. Appreciate their efforts. And that's going to move the runner to third, as nothing Pettit could do about that one. So Norton in the 7 spot. Asked for time, didn't get it, and the pitch for Martinez down in the dirt. Now 2-0. You mentioned how does Martinez respond? He first pitch gave up the chopper, got the out, but the runner moved over, and then the wild pitch, runner moved over again. So 180 feet on 2 pitches for the runner at that point. Then Martinez skips that one into Pettit, make it 2-0. You know, all he needs to really do is sit down and focus on Norton, see if he can get himself out of the inning. But it was Norton an inning ago that started the hit-by-pitch barrage from Schmidt. He and Rubin, who's on deck, both hit by pitch. They were the 2 that came around and scored. Now the 3-0, first and second base are open. Martinez firing it in. That one, I'm guessing, was high. Runners on the corners.
For Martinez on that last pitch. Doing a nice job of remaining right around the zone. Certainly a competitive one that if it missed just a little bit high. But clearly in that scenario with that runner having advanced all the way over to third base, better to be playing it safe. Live to face another batter right here, especially with the way that he's thrown and the majority of the time that we've seen him in this game. He's done a really nice job attacking the strike zone, even though that one just barely misses high again. That was a nice job settling back in, pumping a strike over after 5 consecutive balls, really taking advantage of an opportunity where hitter stepping up to the plate, likely not going to swing the bat. Checks over again at first base, making sure that the runner stays honest. Hopefully give Pettit opportunity to throw him out if he moves right here. Another brilliant breaking ball. That one with much less horizontal break. Not a ton of break in general, but does the job freezing Ruben with the bat in his hands. And now Tigers have a couple of opportunities, no matter the outcome of this pitch, to get out of the inning and put the bats back in batter's box.
A fantastic strikeout here from Martinez to end it. And that'll strand runners at first and third. So he gets congratulations walking off, get another look at it. Just comes with the fastball, blows his own cap off. And that'll send us to the bottom half of the third. Tigers looking to scratch back, down 2-0 here on the Tiger Network. Bottom of the third, top of the lineup here for the Tigers. Baker stepping in. Jack Baker back in the first, went down on strikes, as did Brolick, who waits on deck.
His is high with that one, but now as Tigers make their way through the order for the second time here tonight, and see if Muir starts to work anything else into his pitch repertoire. We've really only seen that fastball and that curveball from him to this point, but to be honest with you, Josh, it's really all that he's needed so far in this one.
Two one, sent center field, tracking back on it and making the catch is going to be Campbell. But I think ultimately a good job there from Baker, kind of taking what was given. The pitch was up. The Tigers have got to start just kind of piecing together a little bit more than they have. They got to start getting a little bit more production out of the top of the order. And right before we departed the top of the third, I was going to make comment of saying, like, it's the bottom half of the order where Whitewater was, those 8-9 spots, that if you can kind of put together some pretty good offense. Brolick, I think, just kind of in disbelief that first base umpire was making the call on that one for the strike. But if you can get your 8 and 9 spots producing, that's what really makes the difference between really good teams in Division III and your good teams in Division III, because there's a handful of teams that are very talented top of the order through the bottom. And there's a handful of teams that come in right after them that have a little bit of weakness and holes in them. And 3 pitches for Brolick, and he's back down on strikes for the second time today. And the Tigers really haven't been able to figure out the DH spot so far this year. As we said, 7th game, 7th different lineup. Some of that's been to illness and injury, but for the most part, we're seeing seismic shifting happening up and down this Tiger lineup so far as they look to see what they're going to get. The 2 constants really have been Ezra Gore steps in here, and the man on deck, MJ Metz. But as they say, the season's still early. We're almost a quarter of the way through it. And Gore's going to fly out to right. Camping out underneath that's going to be DeMeyer. And Whitewater clean through 3. Muir have another rest as his teammates come back to the dish here in the 4th. Watching Tiger Network here on a Thursday night from San Antonio. Bottom of the order now for Whitewater. It'll be Rost. First pitch swinging, and he's got a base hit into left field. And Martinez, who had up to season totals to 3 1/3 with 5 strikeouts against 2 walks, now allowing the leadoff hitter to reach, and that takes us back to the top of the order.
Yeah, now for these Whitewater hitters, starting to see Martinez for the second time on the day. Really keen into the fact that he's stepping onto the bump and more often than not delivering with that first pitch fastball.
Zach Campbell. Single in his last at bat. Oh, ground out before that. That single. Why that scoreboard looks the way it does. He drove in 2. Back in the 2nd inning. That one will be fly out left field. Vonderhaar moves a little bit to his right. Makes the out. There's one down.
Yeah, but a good response by Martinez in this at bat after so many batters in a row. Saw that first pitch fastball, looked like he had a little bit of fade with the first delivery that Campbell saw. Likely a changeup. Able to get ahead in the at bat, forcing him to swing it on the second pitch. Ball on the outside part of the plate, nothing that he could do something with, but Rost on the move right there for Pettit, in there ahead of the throw. All of a sudden, despite the fact that Campbell wasn't able to do anything at the batter's box, Whitewater have a runner in scoring position after Vomhoff had squared around a bunt.
As you saw, throw down, taking Montreza a little bit off his bag. Vomhoff fouls that one off, now down 0-2 after showing bunt through on the first pitch. Struck out looking his last time up, reached on an error his first time. Sliced foul. Ross with an incredibly big steal there because it takes away the double play ball. Should Martinez get the ground ball here? Although, I'll say through the first 6 games, haven't seen too many of those from the Tigers either. The 0-2 missing down low. Not a pretty good eye from Vomhoff this time, who rung up looking in his previous at bat. Just kind of puts the barrel out there and fouls that one off.
And a nice job responding here in this at bat. You mentioned that strikeout looking that he went down on last time. That pitch that he struck out on, a similar location to that one that he just had to pull his hands through and foul off down the right field line. A pitch that he was certainly unhappy with, but doing a good job here in this at-bat, responding and learning from it, being cognizant of the umpire's strike zone behind the plate and when he needs to swing the bat to protect himself.
And this at-bat, one of the more lengthy ones that Martinez has had to deal with. Came in the second. His pitch count now at 41. And Vomhoff once again will make us wait as he fouls that one off. That one a swinging strike. Pettit will see if he can retrieve the ball. Fire down to first. He does. And make it 0-for-3 on the day for Vomhoff. But the runner will move ahead. Another heads up base running decision from Rost. Led off this inning with a single. Finds himself at third with 2 down. Martinez once again squaring off, staring down that runner at third here, close down the inning, but doing so with 2 outs. So putting himself in the position of if he can just take care of the hitter, he can get out of here cleanly once again. Meyer 1 for 2. And that one will miss outside. Meyer single through the right side back in the first inning, grounded out to short back in the second. And there's that inside pitch called against hitters. And we talked about some of the pitches that the hitters haven't been liking, but pretty consistent so far. That inside pitch on the black being called, and that one grounded over to third. As Neski comes up strong, fires over, hits Metz, and once again, Martinez doing the job, allows a single, but gets out of it. Tigers defense holding strong here, and it's kind of been a little bit opposite of what I thought. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. You said maybe a little bit of low-scoring game, more so kind of what you've been seeing. And we head to the bottom of the fourth with the Warhawks on top, 2-0. Bottom of the fourth, MJ Metz stepping in against Weston Muir. And so far, Muir has kind of been in control here for the Warhawks. Kind of doing what he's wanted to do. A couple of strikeouts early on. Added another one back in the third. He's got 4 on the day through 3 innings. Breaking ball a little bit in for Metz. Metz flew out to right field. Was able to get a good piece of it. But left Gore on base all the way back in the first.
Yeah, Metz really teeing off on that pitch right there, already ahead in the count 2-0. Rather nice approach, which has been really refreshing for the Tigers here. Someone that's brought a different one to the batter's box. You mentioned the fact that he's been the most successful Tiger offensively to this point in the year, hitting right around that 430 mark. A couple of doubles throughout the campaign so far, and hit one a long ways to left field earlier in the year. One of the biggest surprises so far has really been his patience in the batter's box. The pitches that he's taken, he was able to do the same here today, going ahead 3-1 in that count, ultimately drawing the walk, making it the 8th on the year for him. Just get so used to and caught up in how many that Brian Schaub was able to draw last year for the Tigers. Met's success and his tendency to get on base early on in the campaign has really gone unnoticed.
Vonderhaar popped up in his first at-bat on the first pitch. He takes that one for a strike. Yeah, that's one of those guys kind of opposite of what the team's doing right now, really putting his season together. Throw back over, and he's back in safely.
Yeah, Josh, and having talked to MJ coming into this year, talked to the coaching staff and some of his teammates, I think a big reason that he's had the success that he is experiencing early on is the type of summer that he had up in Vermont. Had the opportunity to play some summer ball with a couple of his teammates, including Brian Schaub, and he just had himself an absolute masterpiece of a summer. Schaub pointing to some weeks in the middle of the year where he said that his teammate was just stroking every baseball into the gap, barreling it like he had really never experienced a teammate do before. And Metz talked about the confidence that he gained this summer playing against other guys of, multiple different talent levels, multiple divisions of baseball, some at the most competitive Division I universities. But despite that, he had the tremendous success that he did, and it's really carried over for him early on this year.
Big compliments. I mean, especially coming from a guy like Schaub, who kind of put together those types of at bats that you were talking about. We saw a bunch of that last year. His 14 home runs on the year. The Tigers, I think, kind of looking at Metz and seeing if he's to be able to share some of that upperclassman leadership. Kind of same here with Thunder. Lifts this one to center. And tracking it. And that one coming in safely. The Metz into 2, and we're watching this on monitors as you are, so we'll take another look at it. This one might have gotten down. I believe it would be a base hit here for. Nope, it was caught, and then tagging was Metz. It's a big-time heads-up play there for Metz. Putting himself in scoring position now for Schaub. 48 pitches. And I'd say right now the Tigers, with the way that Vonderhaar got a piece of that one, maybe they're starting to get a feel for Muir at this point, who kind of was in control the first 3 innings, and I think now maybe he's looking at it. Tigers are looking at it and how they're hitting him, and how they're hitting him and how they can make approaches to the plate here.
Yeah, that's certainly a promising thought when you have Brian Schaub stepping into the batter's box. As you mentioned already, had those 14 home runs on the season last year. So huge heads-up base running by MJ Metz to advance over to second base. But on top of that, Schaub, wearing number 42, has the capability and the capacity to tie this ball game up with just one swing right here. So Muir, after having cruised through 3 innings, really has to be careful with one of the more experienced hitters in this Tiger lineup.
"14 home runs a year ago. Still looking to get his first here this season. And that one shot into left field, going back, and you can't draw it up any better than that. And that is a home run for Brian Schaub. I apologize for the audio feedback. This game is tied 2-2, and just kind of what we were saying. I mean, Vonderhaar, who's been struggling all season long, he ripped it into the dead part of the field. Now you get a guy like there, Schaub, especially ahead in the count 2-1. He knows where that pitch has to be. He can sit on it, or he can just wait, with the count 2-2. An opportunity now. And he drives that one for his first of the year. I was just about to say, he doesn't have one yet, and he came up just short in that opening game against Lynchburg. Flew out to the warning track in the bottom of the 9th. Would have been a walk-off on the season opener for the Tigers.
Yeah, Josh, got a little bit of the reverse announcer's jinx working for you right there tonight. But I think you were exactly right when you alluded to the count. Schaub getting ahead 2-1 right there. We talked a little earlier about the number of walks that he was able to draw last season. Ultimately leading NCAA Division III in that stat category. And a big reason why he was able to do so was just the fact that he hunted the fastball so frequently last season that when he was seeing those curveballs and breaking balls, a lot of the time in finishing outside of the zone was leading to those walks. But when they put him ahead in the count and opposing pitchers felt forced to throw fastballs, he was really able to tee off on him like he did right there.
That'll bring up Wisniewski, who an inning ago got it started with 2 down, single. He was batting .118 coming into this game, and his average now shooting significantly higher. And that will be ball 4 as he'll take a walk. That'll leave for Montreza. I'll get a quick jog to the mound here for Norton. So collaborate with Muir. It's just one of those things where, like, at a certain point, the hitters start to get a good feel for somebody that they've never seen before. And, these guys are all talking, just as any other team does, hey, he's leaving it high, or, he's coming in here, this is what he's doing. So the second time through that order, you're not exactly sure of what's happening, but you can kind of get a good sense of it. You can take some guesses, some educated guesses as to what might be coming, and you feel like, with how the at-bat previously to Vonderhaar went, I think Schaub probably was watching that a little bit and said, okay, he got behind, and then he started to try to keep it, a little bit up over the middle of the plate, and then it's like, hey, maybe I can wait on that. Now Montreza with a runner on, sends this one into right field. And a diving attempt coming up empty on it, and Wisniewski will make it runners at the corners. And Montreza, the single in his last at-bat, singling here. He's 2 for 2 on the day. And you see the replay, that one into the outfield, and almost a Sports Center worthy catch out in right field for DeMeyer, but comes up empty. There's one down, 2 aboard for Pettit here in the 9 spot. And as I was trying to allude to earlier and mentioned it after the fact, it's that bottom of the order that can really distinguish who you are as a team. And right now, the 7-8 spots for the Tigers, 4 for 4 for getting on base, 3 for 3 in the box score. Pettit takes a breaking ball for strike 1.
Yeah, Josh, but I think something you were just talking about related directly to Mir and the success he had through the first time in the order. The Tigers really seemingly starting to figure him out a little bit. I'm going to go back to something that I talked a little bit about a couple innings ago, was the fact that he had really breezed through that first inning and a half, relying really heavily on that fastball and breaking ball. Hadn't needed any other pitches to that point, but the question was going to be, as he advanced today, how was he going to work other pitches into the repertoire that he comes in with today? And now, with a couple Tigers on and a tie ball game, we still have yet to see a third really solid pitch from Mir, and you'd have to figure that in order for him to go deep into this one after the Tigers have barreled a couple balls up and have this one knotted up, starting the game over at 0, essentially, that he's going to need that third pitch. It's going to be especially relevant right here is Pettit fighting in this 9-hole, attempting to turn the lineup over and give those guys at the top of the order an opportunity again. He finds himself down in this count too.
Yeah, and you're looking at a second-team All-American here. His ERA last year was 1.23. His career ERA sits just a shade above 2 coming into the season. You know, we know that he's highly effective. We know that he's very strong, but I think you're absolutely right. He's got to get command of that third pitch. A little blooper out into center, and that one will hold up just long enough, and almost overthrowing that back in is Campbell. Zach Campbell making the play out in center.
Went off the bat, Josh. Felt like that one might have an opportunity to drop. Talked about it in Campbell's first at-bat of the day, though. His speed on the base paths really paying dividends defensively there as well. Made that play look really easy, but all that momentum coming in almost forced an overthrow to home plate and would have almost certainly had the Tigers going ahead here in the bottom of the 4th. But now a couple outs on the board, just one away from putting the Warhawks back in the dugout, but Mir will have to face Jack Baker right here in the top of the Tiger order.
Baker with a strikeout and a line out to Campbell in his last at-bat, coming in the 3rd. And Campbell's been, I would say, done a particularly good job here patrolling center for Whitewater. Saw that throw coming in. Keep Wisniewski over at 3rd. He almost came in a little too hot on that one, but the Trinity backstop here, you can see it's just there's not a lot of room back there. So even when you overshoot it, you know, especially off that brick wall, it's going to bounce back pretty heavily. So just getting it in is kind of the key. The 2-2 stays alive. 2-2 score, 2 outs, 2 on. And the foul territory here at the Trinity baseball field will be getting a little bit tighter for the 2023 season. There's a lot of that spare space out there, as you see on your screen now, will be gone, making room for more of a player development area. Baker stands in, full count.
Baker right now doing a really nice job fighting these more recent pitches from Mir off. We've really seen him most eager to swing the bat when he's seen these fastball offerings. So for Mir, opportunity to really capitalize by throwing the breaking ball that we've seen from him. Baker on the opposite side has to do a good job, wait back, expect those type of pitches, and protect from those as well. But in this at-bat, especially in the later stages, it's drawn even here at 2-2 with a runner over there at third base. We've seen Mir with a number of fastball deliveries consecutively.
That one chopped over to third, bobbled for a minute. The throw coming up, it's not going to be in time. That one skirts away to right field. That'll allow Montreza go from first to third, and Wisniewski will come around to score. The Tigers take the lead. A little chopper over there into third. Ruben, all he could do, just kind of eat him up, and then felt like he had to rush that to try to get out of the inning. That will allow Wiz to come around and score. We'll take the lead, and bit of a quick hook, I believe, here on Murr, and that will be it for him, although he's responsible for the runners on first and third. Let's take a quick break. Tigers back on top here, visiting Whitewater in their season debut. We'll get a chance to tell you about the new pitcher in just a bit. Get a good look there at Hayden Fox. Last year, 7 appearances, 7 2/3 innings. Gave up 4 hits, 5 runs. They were all earned. Walked 3, but struck out 9. And have to imagine that's kind of what he's here for. Brolick, who is 0 for 2 on the day with 2 strikeouts. We'll see if Fox can come in and handle Brolick, or if Brolick can finally break out of this and find a way back into the hit column, which would give the Tigers a little bit more of a cushion here, already up 3-2.
Yeah, what we saw out of these Warhawks earlier in the game when Martinez was the second Tiger into the game out of the bullpen. This Whitewater team was ready to swing the bat with runners in scoring position. And even though Brolick struck out a couple times here to start his evening, he does step into the box, incredibly patient here, and for good reason, as he's ahead in the count 2-0, but that third pitch coming across the heart of the plate puts it in play out in left field. Ultimately caught out there. That's Skolin in left field for Whitewater, who retires the ultimate third out of this inning, but not before the Tigers are able to scratch 3 runs, 2 of them coming on that big home run deposited over the left field wall by Brian Schaub. Tigers lead 3-2 as we head to the top of the 5th inning. We welcome you back here in San Antonio as Jack Martinez starts us off here in the top of the 5th inning.
And I know there's been some question as to, is it Martinez, is it Martinez? And the word we have from Jack is that it's Martinez. It's more of the Cajun pronunciation. He's from Corpus Christi, but with family ties a little bit more east. So seen it spelt the same way, seen it called Martinez, but he has, at least from what he has told us, elected to go with Martinez. So he's either really, really sneaky and a practical jokester, or he just really likes that Cajun pronunciation.
Yeah, but what a good one it would be if it is a practical joke.
It would be one of the better ones.
Especially when it's at his own expense. It would really take a lot for him to step up as he induces another strikeout right there. And the ball sneaking past Pettit, but he gets it on over to MJ Metz on time for the first out of the inning. Whether or not we have that pronunciation right, whether or not Martinez is pulling a practical joke on us here, in the broadcast booth, he's done a phenomenal job to this point on the day, and he doesn't show any signs of slowing down soon. Still working strong, having thrown 3 1/3 innings pitched, only giving up those 2 runs as he induces that ground ball, but that one will sneak past Montreza playing over there at shortstop. And Paget will make his way on to first base.
Yeah, just a chopper, and I don't know. I think just an in-between hop there last minute for Montreza. And after getting Corman to strike out, Paget on with a single after strikeout and a walk. Now Skolin looking for his first collegiate hit. Strikeout and a ground out on his scorecard today. And we've seen the Tigers kind of go through this process the other day when last time I called a game with you with Shavana coming in. He was the 3rd reliever out of the pen. Tigers really couldn't get anything going in the first inning or 2nd inning. He comes in to close the door in the 2nd, and then he goes pretty much all the way till the 9th. The Tigers had a little bit more trouble to close it out, but it's almost like there are capable guys all up and down that pitching staff. It's just timing. It's did we pick the guy that's on tonight? And it's sometimes finding that rhythm or finding hey, this guy's going to be ready to go, and getting the guys kind of into that mindset of like, I'm going to be the starter and I'm going to go out there and do what I need to do. It's just there's a lot of small variables that kind of lead to a situation. As a check back over to first and getting back safely is Padgett.
Yeah, but something that Coach Dave Smith talked about in the pregame, something that we alluded to earlier, is the fact that it's the first time the Tigers are playing here on a Thursday night, as Martinez gets the swing and miss right there. Maybe a
I was going to say foul ball.
Foul ball, a little difficult to tell. But first Thursday evening game of the year, and while it is the first, it's going to be one of very few. And it throws off the pitching staff a little bit. Talked at short portion about the fact that they aim to keep Corey Cater in rhythm, start him tomorrow in the 3 o'clock game, and let everything else remain the same after the fact. But they have to find someone else to put in that starting position tonight, and they went with Garza. He came in making what it was his second collegiate appearance, mentioning the fact as Pettit makes a strong throw down to second base. There's no signal from the umpire right there, but it looked as if Pettit had made a good enough throw and was in there ahead of the runner. Perhaps the tag not getting down. Looks like Pettit has a little bit of a smile on his face about that as he throws the mask back on. But Garza making his second collegiate appearance, Schmidt coming on in relief of him, and ultimately the Tigers found their way to Martinez. And in his second appearance of his collegiate career, he has been as impressive as he really could happen to be, and exactly what the Tigers need, Josh, when you talk about a guy that can be inserted in really any scenario that you could think of.
And then staying alive here, Skolin, and just incredible when you think about the fact that this is all coming from a first-year pitcher as well. We are cycling through. See if we can get a better picture out of our center field cam. So we'll stay with us for just a moment here with these unusual angles for the pitch.
I think one thing that we've seen Martinez run into, however, is these lengthier at-bats where some of these Warhawk hitters have really drawn them out and battled. And as soon as I get started on that, Skolin goes down swinging on what looked to be a little bit of a change-up from that different angle. But previously, you had to have wondered what Martinez was really going to turn to. We haven't seen a total wipeout pitch, a breaking ball with a ton of movement, or an off-speed with a ton of movement on it. But I think it has been promising that despite the lack of that pitch to fall back and rely on, he remained incredibly competitive. He didn't give up in those fights and just continued to come straight at these Whitewater hitters.
Brings up the catcher, Norton. And Ryan Norton has been gifted first base twice, and wouldn't you know it, it is there available again. That one, best guess is that it was low, because that was right there on that inside corner that's been called a strike pretty consistently to the inside hitter, or on the inside part of the plate to the hitter that we've seen all day, exactly right there. So there's that inside pitch. That was a little bit more up, so make the count now 2-1. Martinez going through the signs again, runner on second. Norton, the 3-1. That one will be left up. The breaking ball fouled off, and it'll be a full count. Board twice today. Looking to get his first hit of the season. The breaking ball up. I believe he fouled it off. Yeah, they're going to say foul ball. Yes, foul ball. You'll see the replay here in just a second. Take another look at it. It looked like he had maybe checked the swing. I think even with super slow motion, I don't know if we'd be able to see exactly what happened there, but the umpire probably heard. And take a look at the foul ball. I think it just hit off the back of the bat. And while we're watching this, the next pitch is ball 4. So that will put 2 aboard and another free gift. Once by hit by pitch, and now the second walk here for Norton. Now bring up David Rubin. Rubin, third baseman, hit by a pitch and struck out in his 2 plate appearances today. Take strike 1. Kind of getting the feeling here that, kind of what we saw out of Muir for Martinez. Just kind of either a little bit of fatigued, a little bit of the ball just kind of falling, that one into the outfield, and that will tie the game here and leave runners on the corner as Rubin comes through with his first base hit. He's already been on base and scored a run, but now he drives in one, and we're tied at 3 here in the 5th.
Yeah, and frankly, not a bad pitch right there. It was similar to the one before, and if anything, a little bit more outside of the strike zone. Just a great piece of hitting right there from Rubin, who just puts the bat out there, and it finds enough, the ball finds enough barrel. Maybe the other way around, but that one dribbled down to the left side of the infield. Wisniewski over there, able to field it cleanly, make that strong throw over to Metz at first base to retire the 3rd out. But as you mentioned, Josh, not before Whitewater, able to knot this one at 3.
So we'll be back for the bottom half of the 5th here on the Tiger Network. You're watching Trinity Baseball versus Wisconsin-Whitewater, 2 top-ranked Division III teams here from San Antonio. We'll be back in just a bit. Bottom half of the 5th, it's Fox back out there for the Warhawks, and it's Ezra Gore for the Tigers stepping in. And on the day, Ezra, a walk and a fly out to right. Fouls that one off, and he's down 0-2. Fox coming in relief of Weston Muir. Game starter after he gave up a 2-run home run. And Tigers were able to squeak out another run to take the lead 3-2 in the fourth as Gore singles that into the outfield for a base hit.
Yeah, and similar to that last hit that we saw on the other side for Whitewater, Gore just really sticking the barrel out there, doing enough to muscle that one into center field. But good job from the Tiger center fielder right there, getting on base as a leadoff runner with 0 outs on the board to this point. Not a position that we've seen the Tigers in a whole lot in this series. And with his speed over there at first base, more than capable of putting a runner in scoring position.
Yeah, I almost get the feeling it's not a question of if he'll try to steal, but which pitch he'll try to do it on. First ball missing, and there he goes. And a hit and run for Metz, and he slices it foul just down the right field line. That would have been a big opportunity if Metz could have had that one fall in play. At least runners at the corners, assuming that Gore doesn't try to make it first to home. The safety on the Tiger football team, used to patrolling the outfield, patrolling the secondary, but get him in a sprint here on the base paths.
Yeah, I think you're especially right. He might still be running if Metz is able to put that one on the inside of that foul line. Have to figure with that ball slicing towards the right field line, might have a chance to wind up in the corner with Gore's speed, excuse me, he's actually called out over there at second base. Looked like he got a pretty good jump. And
yeah, he got a great jump, but look at Norton here. Well, Norton just with a fantastic, and you see like just a fantastic, he came up out of it like everything was perfect from Norton. I'll just put it that way. The throw was just dead perfect, and it was a good jump here from Gore, but fantastic defensive effort here from Norton.
And from Rost as well over there at shortstop. Did a nice job coming up to make that grab. And one thing that he really didn't allow Gore to do was slide on the back part of the base path. He's really stopped right in the middle in front of Gore, forced him to go right through him. And that strong throw, as you mentioned, from Norton behind the plate was there well ahead of time. And really absolutely nothing that Gore could do in that scenario.
So Metz now with a 2-2 count. I feel like we willed Schaub's home run, and then we sort of willed Gore's caught stealing at that same point, you know, over-talking it. But it's a fantastic defensive play from the catcher. And so one down, the 2-2 count. Fox settles in. Pitch to Metz, back up the middle, and a field by the pitcher. PFP for Fox takes care of Metz, and they're quickly 2 down and start the inning off with a fantastic single for Gore. And a pretty good shot here from Metz, and a nice job on the glove there from Fox, as that one kind of took a little swirly hop on him at the very last moment, but they will get the leather down. And 2 down now for Vonderhaar.
Yeah, and seemingly a really nice pitch to swing on if you're Metz right there, but for Fox, excuse me, looked like that one had a little bit of run back in on the hands of the big Tiger first baseman tonight. Ultimately jammed him just a little bit. Not the hardest hit ball that we've seen come off of Metz's bat. But again, a nice job by Fox, as you mentioned, fielding his position cleanly and ensuring that he got the out. But after a really nice start for the Tigers to this inning, Whitewater has a couple down, an opportunity to get out. But Vonderhaar stepping into the batter's box. The job doesn't get any easier right here, especially as the Tiger left fielder continues to hunt for a hit that's eluded him in recent games.
Fox Warhawks blowing that one past Vanderhaar. He just kind of gave the half-hearted swing. As we were setting up for pregame mid-afternoon, he was out there seeking extra BP, really trying to, I think, overcome just the mental side of his approach at the plate. So a fantastic at-bat that led to a long flyout an inning ago. Pretty good at-bat here, and the results aren't going to show for it, but sends that one into center field, and that one's going to fall. And we'll see what the end result is. I can't imagine that's going to go for a double, but probably a two-base error. And that one just popped up. You see.
One thing that you mentioned earlier was the fact that Gamble has done a really nice job out there in center field for the Warhawk defense, but we have seen a couple of balls fall right in the middle of some of these outfielders. So for a team that's playing their first action of this 2022 campaign, not something to be entirely surprised about. The fact that the communication isn't exactly where they'd hope for it to be, but it puts your pitcher in an awkward scenario when you have the guy that single-handedly knotted this game up a couple innings ago, stepping into the batter's box with a runner on.
Yeah, Schaub with the two-run shot down the over left field. And they are going to give Vonderhaar a double, and the only thing I can think of is that both guys were calling for it, and then neither one of them went for it. So I don't know if either one of them got a glove on it, and that one ripped down the first baseline but foul. Schaub his 15th home run as a Tiger. He transferred from Richmond a year ago. Second in the NCAA Division III in walks. Check swing. They're going to check him. No swing on that one. If the umpire's over or down at first base, you might have gotten that call. The umpire's there with the same view that you had watching wherever you may be. I don't know if you're going to get that call. Looked like he, at least from straight on, looked like he held up enough. Fox delivers. That one's fouled off the foot of Schaub. And the right fielder will stand in 1-2, runner in scoring position. Fantastic evening here in Texas. That's up for ball two. I'll say it probably caught me by surprise. I thought it probably could have been a strike. Luke, you're over there basically giving me the no worries. That's ball two. And now the 2-2 popped up. Will it be in play? Norton looks like he's got a beat on it and makes the catch. And that will take us out of the fifth. So we head to the sixth. Whitewater in the top half of the fifth. Knotted this back up at 3 apiece. And we'll be back in just a bit. Top of the 6th here in San Antonio, and it's the leadoff man, Zach Campbell, leading us off for the 6th inning. And Martinez still out there rolling for the Tigers.
Yeah, Josh, and I think that's one of the things that's surprised me on the broadcast earlier on this season. It's the sheer number of pitches that the coaching staff has been comfortable with allowing these guys to throw. Last weekend's series opener, home opener, we saw Corey Cater go well over the century mark. Saw Joseph Shavana in relief on Saturday throw a number of pitches as well. And now Martinez, full week later, nearing that 80 pitch mark, and again, just no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
I think it's surprising, especially for some of the guys out of the bullpen, but kind of like what I think we were talking about earlier, where, you know, once you find that guy that looks like, hey, he's got it tonight, you know, after you get over a certain number of pitches as a reliever, you're pretty much going to be burned for a series the way that, you know, college baseball does everything. Called strike on Campbell, and he'll be down on strikes for the first time. He's now 1 for 4 after a single in the second inning. And I'll bring up Sam Vomhoff, who was 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts, and reached on an error back in the first inning. You know, once you're kind of burned for the weekend, you know, the coaches kind of look at it as, you know, you don't want to, you know, if the guy's got 6 innings, 7 innings worth of work for you, you don't necessarily want to rob him of what he can give you, but also you can't let him go 5 knowing that, hey, at best he might be able to give you an inning on Sunday and not, you know, and then you get to Sunday and he's not able to actually go, or situation doesn't warrant it. So, and then I think also, especially if it's going to be game 1 or game 2 of a series, you kind of look at it and you're saying, like, well, what are we going to need for the rest of the weekend? We've got a doubleheader tomorrow. We've got a game on Saturday. So, you know, how can we preserve as much of that bullpen as possible? You know, and I don't think you start to really worry about guys until, you know, that velocity falls off, because that starts to tell you more about whether a guy's tired or what's happening with his arm than anything else. And Montreza, not exactly sure what happened there. That's going to be an error on the Tiger shortstop, but that looks very casual. Let's see if it ate him up. Sort of did, and then his throw was just way off the mark. I don't even know if a strong throw beats Vomhoff anyway right there. So we'll see if they give him another error. No, they do. They give him a single, so he's now 1 for 4 on the day. And I can agree with that one, as I said, I don't think he's going to get him with a strong throw. I think he weighted back on it maybe a bit too much, and that last hop kind of ate him up.
Yeah, seemingly a much softer liner right there. Anytime you get that line drive off the bat, though, you're going to drop in your defensive position. That put Montreza in a really tough spot, as you mentioned. Maybe a little bit of difficulty with that exchange, too. Didn't really plant and make that strong throw off the back foot, as I'm sure he would have liked to have. Getting back to Martinez and the way he's thrown out of the pen today, you mentioned the fact that this is a staff, and a coaching staff specifically, that wants to allow these guys to really pitch to the extent that they're capable of in any given weekend. You know, you don't want to throw him 2 innings here and pull him too soon, expecting him to turn around and be able to throw on Saturday perhaps, especially when he's throwing as well as he has so far here in this one. He's really exactly what the Tigers needed on this day, after you saw a couple of pitchers in that first inning and came in all the way back in the second, and he's really been comfortable ever since then. 2 of the runs on the board for the Warhawks did get tagged to another pitcher, Jack Schmidt, who came into the game first man out of the bullpen. So since then, just the 1 earned run for Martinez, and the stuff that he's shown us is stuff that isn't exactly indicative of a reliever. I think that's another thing, another reason that we see these guys out of the bullpen have such long leashes and such high pitch counts, is the fact that these guys are brought in because they're phenomenal pitchers, and they're going to be used in whatever scenarios they're needed in, whether it's an inning or 6 innings, as we've seen often this season.
Yeah, and I think, from where we are, we don't have a radar gun just yet. We're hoping to add that to everything, as that one's rolled over to Baker at second. We'll take the out, but the runner will move across. But his velocity still looks like it's pretty sharp. He's getting some swings and misses. He's getting some late swings there. And only 4 2/3 innings, as you mentioned. Pitch count might be a little high for that type of activity, but Dave Smith and Tim Scannell, a lot of confidence in Martinez, and kind of look at him and the fresh face that we saw at the beginning of this game, Garza, kind of feeling like, hey, we may not know exactly what we have in our pitching staff, but we know we've got a lot of talent here. And that one's going to be slow rolled over to Montrez. He gets a chance to redeem himself, fire over to Metz, and that will do it. For Whitewater here in the top of the 6th, and you get another look at Martinez as he walks off. That might be for the final time, or we'll see if he's back out there for the 7th, but another look at this one, and Montrez has probably got to feel good about that one, running in on it and getting a feel for that. So as you see there, Wisniewski will lead us off when we return for the bottom half. You're watching Trinity Baseball here on Tiger Network. Wisniewski, first pitch swinging, that one down the line, and foul. We strike one. So Fox returns back out there. So far for him, an inning and a third. He's given up 2 hits. One of them was a double. He's faced 5 batters, thrown 27, now 28 pitches. Been pretty effective in relief. 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors for Whitewater. 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Tigers. Whitewater's left 10 on. 6 Tigers have been stranded around the base path. And that one will hit Wiz, and he will take the free pass on down to first base.
So similar start here in the bottom of the 6th for the Tigers. Have their leadoff runner on. Wisniewski. Not someone that we see in motion a whole lot on the base paths, but never surprised by really any movement from the majority of the Tigers in this lineup. So we see Montreza turn square around to bunt, puts a nice one down, almost beating it out there down at first base. But close play ultimately results in an out for the Warhawks, but was for Trinity benefit as Wisniewski was able to advance over to second base. Put a Tiger in scoring position now with 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th, and Tyler Pettit stepping up to the plate with the opportunity to turn the lineup over for the Tigers.
Yeah, fantastic bunt there from Montreza, who it's a sacrifice, 2 for 2 on the day. Now Pettit, that one will skirt away. Norton will give chase, but Wiz will go down to third. And so now Pettit, a long fly ball away from giving the Tigers the lead once again with a sac fly. Infield playing it in. Looking to take away the run. This one gets it up in the air, and there's the infield playing in. And that's dropped, so Pettit will be on board at first. And an error on the Warhawks, not something you see very often here. Third error of the game. I think he just momentary lapse by Ruben will allow Pettit to be aboard. Whitewater still a double play away from getting out of the inning, but now 2 aboard with 1 down as opposed to runner on third with 2 down. Not exactly what the Warhawks had in mind.
Yeah, Josh, but you did allude to the fact that it was a beautiful day here in San Antonio for the majority of it, but as you said earlier on in the broadcast, about an hour before game time, came a little bit overcast. You have to wonder, despite the sun having gone down a couple of hours ago here in San Antonio, if the clouds in the sky on a dark night have some sort of an impact, or if it really is just more so this being the first time the Warhawks have taken the field. Talked about coaching staff before the game. This is the first opportunity for this team from Wisconsin coming down, being able to take fly balls on the season, having practiced a lot inside in colder conditions. It's the first time they've really had the opportunity to be out on a field, see true defensive capabilities of this team, and I think we've seen the impact of it in the outfield, and certainly on that play right there that had the opportunity to put Whitewater and these Warhawks in a great position to get out of the inning, but now Tigers runners on the corner and the top of the lineup at the plate.
Baker 0 for 3 on the day, grounds out, and Pettit's going to, let's see if they're going to call maybe a runner interference, or they're going to let that go. And time is called, so Baker on the fielder's choice will get the RBI. We'll get a good look here at Pettit. He just tried to slow up. Oh, yeah. Definitely no interference for that. Didn't see anything other than 2 guys maybe trying to avoid a collision and just getting their legs caught underneath them. And Baker will be aboard first. With scores, Tigers lead by a score of 4-3, and Baker will steal second. And we gave Norton a lot of credit for how good he did against Gore on his caught stealing, but that one slipping out of his hand, I think he spiked it probably about 70 feet into the dirt.
Yeah, and just following through a little bit too much. Spiking it, not always the worst case scenario. Clearly depends on the runner that you have on the base paths, and while Gore is certainly the speediest in the Tiger uniforms, Jack Baker, no slouch himself, but that one, I think key to it was the fact that it ended up on the third base side of the bag. Infielder covering the bag right there. Whether it was Vomhoff or Ross, unable to glove that one cleanly. And Baker was able to slide in there safely. And now the Tigers, with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th, do have a runner in scoring position. And Brolick up to bat way ahead now, hoping to see a fastball after he struck out in his first 2 at-bats and popped up in his third.
A good eye. Laying off the 3-1 pitch. Take the base over at first. And the aforementioned Ezra Gore back to the plate. And on the day for Ezra, had a walk in the first, a fly out in the third, and a single back in the fifth. And a single here would score at least one, depending on how well he placed it. Might be enough with 2 down to bring around Brolick. That was a leadoff single back in the fifth before the caught stealing. That one down the right field line. Baker will come around to score. The throw home will be fantastically done. And that'll keep the score here 4-3. I thought that would have been enough to score. And you get a good look here at Norton with the tag. And we'll take a break, maybe find out if we can slow down that replay enough to see how close it was. But it felt live that maybe he had him. We'll be back in just a bit. Top of the 7th inning, and we had the opportunity to take a look at that last play in the in-between innings. And look, I may have been wrong. It looks like maybe Baker got the foot down just ahead of this tag as the throw was a little bit offline, but it looked like it was severely bang-bang. You see the umpire partially obstructed view. I can see why he made the call that he did. And we kind of, after being able to slow it down as much as possible, maybe had a different opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right about the obstruction right there. Catcher cutting off that viewpoint, especially, you know, the thing key about that play was the fact that Baker did such an excellent job of sliding and ensuring that his lead foot went straight to home plate. So keeping that in mind, certainly seems like that was the first thing that touched in that sequence. Catcher did do a nice job of getting that tag down quickly, but with Baker ensuring that that lead foot was going straight to home plate, certainly seems like he was able to get under the tag safely.
Nonetheless, in the 6th inning, the Tigers are able to regain the advantage. They now lead 4-3 as we move ahead into the later stages of this one. Paget for the Warhawks has been on base the last 2 times, once by a walk and had a single, came around and scored in his last at-bat, that back in the 5th inning. And New pitcher for Trinity will be number 32, Joel Thomas. Thomas on the season with 2 appearances before this one. Does have a save to his name, 3 innings pitched. Has allowed 7 hits, 3 runs. They were all earned. Struck out 2 and walked 1. On in relief of Martinez.
Yeah, and you mentioned those 2 appearances. The first of those coming a couple of weekends ago, the game at Birmingham Southern against Birmingham Southern in that series where they played 3 opponents in 3 days. He threw 2 2/3 innings in that one as he issues the walk to start the top of the 7th here, giving up 6 hits, 3 earned runs on those. Ballooned his ERA on the season above 10 to start him off, but coaching staff and talks with them seemed a lot happier with his performance than the numbers would indicate. Said that he pitched to a much higher level than those numbers would point to, and was ultimately not the benefactor of some really tough calls that went against him, and came back last weekend, threw a third of an inning, really came in to get his job done in that close 12-11 victory for the Tigers, ultimately earning his first save on the season and stepping into a role that is similar for his family. His brother Matt Thomas was in that closer position for the Tigers last year. He was someone that was incredibly successful, earning 7 saves through more than 30 innings pitched as Thomas delivers that one, and Skolin in the batter's box loses control of the bat as it slips out of his hand. Thomas doing a nice job of responding right here after issuing that leadoff walk, and he's ahead in the count 1-2 as we see the replay.
Got some height on that one.
Yeah, a little bit deceiving, a lot higher than I originally thought that bat flew.
Skolin 0 for 3 on the day, looking to get aboard for the first time. Takes that one up, now 2-2. 2 strikeouts and a ground out for the newcomer for the Warhawks. That one chopped on the ground over to second. Baker bobbles for a minute, and that's going to allow Skolin to at least be on the base paths for the first time, but that one go down as an E4. And now 2 aboard here, nobody down as Thomas hasn't done terribly out there on the mound, but that might not be enough to save him from a Dave Smith mound visit here pretty soon. Norton checking in. Scored after being hit by pitch and has been awarded first base twice via walk. Thomas, now Baker late to cover, does come over, and the sacrifice almost goes for a single. A really good job by Norton. Not necessarily the greatest bunt, but it was effective in the fact that both runners were able to advance easily. And then you can see here just the late coverage eventually coming over, making it look a little mundane was Baker, but I'm sure gave Tiger fans a little bit of a regular heartbeat there for a moment. Now we'll see if Thomas can find maybe one of those strikeouts that his brother was so good at last year, coming in and when you needed it, get you to 2 strikes so you could get the third out of the inning in any way possible without allowing a runner from second and third to score. Didn't like pitch from himself there, and behind in the count now 1-0. Ruben on the day so far. He was also hit by a pitch, came around and scored back in the second inning. And struck out, and then had an RBI single back in the 5th. And that knotted the game at 3 before the Tigers took the lead in the 6th inning. Back at 4-3, and that's where we stand now. Now the 2-0 pitch from Thomas. First base is open. Rost on deck. That one will fall in for a strike.
Yeah, a really good pitch right there from Thomas. A really nice job to respond. But going back 2 pitches ago, on that 1-0 breaking ball that we saw end up in the dirt, obviously he doesn't find the strike zone with it, but I really have to like it working with this at-bat right here against Ruben with that first base unoccupied. It's a good position to really find the feel after we had seen him throw that first ball and be dissatisfied with it. See a couple pitches miss up right there, but that breaking ball really seemed to help him find that release point, which is even more important now as he faces bases loaded jam right here, and Ross stepping into the plate. Just 1 for 2 on the night to this point, also having walked once. But he did ground out in his last plate appearance, and Thomas could certainly use a similar result right here to try and get out of the inning.
Starts him off with a fastball and blows it by for strike 1. And it's that bottom of the order that just keeps producing here for Whitewater. Finding ways to get on base, manufacture something. 2 runs scored for this 7, 8, 9 spot so far. They have the 2 hit by pitches. They have 4 walks. They have 2 singles. And they've only been retired twice. And this will be popped up. Will it be playable? It'll be probably for the best that that wasn't caught. I believe as Wisniewski unable to track it and kind of get a little bit of a tailing effect on it. He overshot it at first and then came back on it, and then just out of his reach. I think if he makes that catch, there's the possibility that that run could tag. Not the game at 4, but the game is tied. And they're going to say hit by pitch. Pettit's going to say he swung at that and that hit off the barrel. We'll have the advantage of a replay. The home plate umpire does not. The bases are still loaded, 1 down, and we are tied at 4.
Yeah, Josh, and you mentioned the fact that that last foul ball skied down the left field line ultimately ends up in a better spot for the Tigers as you see him at least start to go around, but that one did look like it ultimately ran.
Looked like got the wrist, not the bat knob.
Yeah, but mentioned the fact that that last skied ball gave the opportunity for that run to tag, but if you're Wisniewski, you're certainly looking back on it, wishing that you had recorded the second out of the inning. But if you're Thomas on the mound, having gone ahead in the account, way ahead in the account 1-2, really can't afford in that situation with the bases loaded to run so far in and on a guy and hit him to drive in the game-tying run.
So Smith and Thomas, Pettit. As they all debate the best on-campus meal spot. Pretty quick conversation. And you're still 1 pitch away from getting out of the jam that you've created here, but you're also maybe 1 pitch away from having this one maybe get a little bit out of control. Now maybe you look back at the Baker run that wasn't called safe. What the Tigers maybe could have had going. 2 on and not run across. That one into center field. Should be deep enough to score the run on a sac fly. And Schaub will have that one fall, and they're going to try to send 2 around. And they will take the lead 6-4, and a catastrophic 7th inning here for the Tigers. As that was another second out that could have been caught. That was not. And I think Schaub just may have lost it. And I think that's the same thing that we saw for Campbell for Whitewater in an inning ago where Vonderhaar's ball just fell between them. I think both of those, if the center fielder's coming in and has a better read on it, I think at that point the center fielder, both Gore and Campbell, need to make that call, because both times it looked like the left fielders really, were tracking, but then they lost it late.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Vonderhaar out there in left field. Perhaps the wind playing a little bit more of a role in this one than we would have expected to start the day. That wind not blowing super heavily, but it is blowing out towards left field. So if anything, from the right side of the diamond to the left. And we've seen that a couple of times here now, that most recent one being costly for the Tigers.
Mets with a diving effort. He'll get the runner at second. So now there will be 2 outs. And yes, thank you for that. I'm so used to Shaw patrolling left field from a year ago, and he has moved over to right. Vonderhaar out and left. Now 2 down here. Runners on the corner for Whitewater, who have taken the 6-4 lead. I don't want to say that it's a commanding lead with the way that this one's going, but I think a lot of the air has been sucked out of the Tigers' favor here with this 3-run inning for the Warhawks. DeMeyer chops that one foul, and it'll be 0-2. Two teams back in it tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock start here in San Antonio, 3 o'clock Central, for game 1 of a doubleheader. We'll be on the air shortly before 3, and we'll have both games for you. The second game officially slated for 6, but realistically, I'm going to say 6:30 is probably about the earliest that one's going to get going. And then Saturday, the 2 teams, 11 a.m. That one will not be covered. That one is all the way over at Wolf Stadium. Pettit holds the throw. The runners will advance, and could be big on a single. Now it puts 2 in scoring position. That 4th game of the series in the minor league park of the San Antonio Missions, and for some of the Whitewater faithful, they may be familiar with that team as their former graduates playing there, as that one was chopped up the middle, and Montreza is just going to eat it.
Looks like a real tall bounce right there. See Montreza charging in. Was able to pick that one cleanly, but wasn't hit as hard as it appeared to be off the bat. For the Warhawks out of Whitewater, it was DeMeyer playing defensively in the outfield, being able to flash his speed on the base paths right there. Montreza not even going to offer a throw over there with the threat of a pass ball. Ultimately going to score Vomhoff on that as well. So instead, Tigers will allow just the 1 run right there, make it 7-4 ball game, but the Warhawks will continue to threaten here in the top of the 7th, with DeMeyer over there at first now and Vomhoff remaining at third base.
And now a rundown, and the miscommunication and the struggles continue for Trinity runners at second and third. good job here by Whitewater here in the 7th. Going to go back and take a commanding 3-run lead on 4 runs. And the Tigers are finally out of the top of the 7th. We hit the stretch. But it is a different atmosphere here on the campus of Trinity University as we come back for the bottom half of the 7th in just a bit. Bottom of the 7th, and the new pitcher here for the Warhawks will be Cade Barrent. And Barrent, the lefty junior. Sets and deals to MJ Metz, the ground ball through the left side, and he will have a single. There's really not much that Ross could do with that one. It was hit pretty deep into the hole. So no pitching stats on Barrent a year ago.
See the replay of that pitch to Metz, who was well out in front of it, rolled over, but just placed it in the perfect spot deep in the hole to shortstop. Not much that could be done about it. Tigers respond exactly the way they need to if they have any hopes of getting back into this game.
Brings up Jack Vonderhaar, 1 for 3 on the day. Had a double on his last at-bat, and that was the double we talked about, similar to the play that he gave up with Gore in the last half inning, where the left fielder, I think just with the way that the lights are positioned here, as you range to your center field side, I think you may be able to track a ball, but it just kind of gets lost at the last moment. Well, a couple of runs to score here for the Warhawks, but a recipient of a double in the similar fashion his last time up. Now he's got a runner on base.
And for him stepping in at this point, so funny how the game can work sometimes. The fact that you can barrel up some baseballs and walk away from a day hitless, and you know the way that Vonderhaar's been hitting and stroking the bat lately, he's looking for those hard barreled balls, but to walk away with from a game with a hit, even though it just happens to fall in between a couple outfielders, seems to be exactly what he needs to get in any sort of rhythm this year.
That one just a touch high. I think both Norton and Brent were maybe waiting for that to be a strike. Now Vonderhaar double checks. The count is 2-2. And it is. And Brent with the 2-2. That one falls away. Full count now. Mets over at first. Mentioned that the life around the stadium kind of got sucked out in that last half inning, and starting to hear a little bit of chatter. And the time will be called. Tigers can string another hit or two together here and bring the fans back to life. Feed upon that energy. I'm sure those that are accustomed to watching Tiger Network broadcast and hearing Brian Yancison talk about how great it is to be back here at the park with fans in the stands. Brian will be back tomorrow for game one. He's trying to navigate this weekend with family wedding. You can hear him for the 3 o'clock broadcast. Luke and I back tomorrow night. Breaking ball, swung on and fouled off. A little bit of a late swing there from Vonderhaar as that breaking ball dropped in at the very last moment.
Yeah, but for Vonderhaar, as we talked about his struggles to a certain extent, certainly important to continue to swing the bat, as we see him do again right there. Just continue to battle and fight pitches off anytime they're even relatively close.
Yeah, they're much better approaches than what we saw last week when he kind of came up and saw a couple of pitches and then sat down against Babson. Runner goes and that's fouled off, and so it stays in the park giving chase is Ruben, and he runs out of room. Mentioned that next year that will be a guaranteed foul ball, because most of that area over there by the bullpen will be completely foul territory, or out of play, excuse me. In foul territory only have a few steps once it gets passed towards the outfield. Across time, Brent doesn't even feel the need to step off the rubber. It just looks like a frozen picture on your screen, but it is live now. Norton will come out and have a chat. If you're just tuning in, bit of a back and forth game. Whitewater took the lead early. Trinity came back and tied it on a 2-run homer by Brian Schaub. Whitewater went back ahead 3-2. Trinity chipped away, tied the game, and then took the lead 4-3. Close call at the plate in the bottom of the 6th inning. Had Jack Baker called out on a relay throw to home. That one is lifted up, and a 2 will be aboard now as Vonderhaar will take the 90-feet walk. Baker called out on that play at the plate. Tigers would have been up 5-3 and batting with Metz and Vonderhaar here, but it was not to be. And then Whitewater took advantage of everything, struck for a 4-run 7th, and that is where we are, 7-4, Whitewater in command. The number 6 team in the country, according to D3Baseball.com. And now Schaub with another chance to tie with one swing of the bat. Takes inside for strike 1.
Really exactly where you want to try and put the baseball if you're Barrett. Pitching to Schaub with the opportunity to tie the baseball game right here with one swing. Trying to keep the baseball down in the zone to this hitter that is so used to hitting line drives. That one hangs up just a little bit. He drives it to the deepest part of the field. Looks like that one ultimately gets down.
I think they're saying that that was off the wall, or excuse me, off the umpires are giving it a home run call. That one off the off the tree, I believe. We'll see if we get a replay at it and see what we get on the call. But it looks like it's the second home run of the day for Schaub.
Yeah, Josh, and I mean, as he was stepping back into the box right there, it's eerily similar to a position that we were in earlier in the game, stepping in, trailing, but with opportunity to tie the baseball game. And I was saying in the middle of that at-bat, that first pitch in a great location, keeping it down to a hitter that loves to hit line drives, and then Barrett just turned around with that breaking ball that didn't break to the extent that he wanted. That one hangs up in the zone just a little bit, and just a little bit of an odd finish right there, but that one seemingly hits the trees and then just drops back into play, and all of a sudden there's sevens all across the board here as this one's tied up in the bottom. And Jack Wisniewski steps back into the batter's box with no outs here and the opportunity to keep this Trinity rally going.
That one fouled off, and we'll see the replay here of Schaub's home run. And pretty shortly after this one hit towards the wall, the umpire there in your frame started giving the home run signal. You can see him right between the pitcher's mound and second base. He's looking down, and then right about there is when he started giving the signal. That one looked like it hit the tree that may be slightly overhanging, and given the home run call, he was waving the finger around pretty quickly after that.
And certainly none of the Tigers down that left field line had any doubt about it. Obviously, we don't have eyes on the field right now, but trying to call that one off the bat was a little bit difficult. Looked like Schaub hit that one off the end, but with as much pop as he has in his stick, it certainly wasn't an issue.
7-7 here in the seventh, and just kind of looking over my shoulder at the comments here, and Jim Dixon has it right. It's early in the season, and the errors have evened out. And I think these two teams have kind of given us quite a show here tonight. The Tigers, a little bit fortunate having played 2 weeks as Wisniewski. I think gets that one blooped over. Ruben's going to come up and make the play, and that'll be the first out of the inning. So one down here for the Tigers. And Trinity's had the advantage of playing the last 2 weeks, and Luke, you mentioned that they've had, if you're Whitewater, you were fielding fly balls for the first time yesterday or today, and you're just trying to get, your legs underneath you and everything else. So, it's a fantastic opportunity for them to come down and get some good action going. But at the same time, you're kind of running into a team that is highly ranked, very competitive, has been a good program the last couple of years. And then, by the way, they've played the last 2 weeks while you've been, trying to do what you can inside the gym or whatever else, and not really getting true live action. So for that part of it, I would say Whitewater has come in and impressed, and kind of given credence to the fact that they are a top 10 team. There are a couple of teams in the top 15 that are still in the top 15, even though they have not played so far this season. And pretty accurately, I think Whitewater's right about where we expect them to be. You thought that one was up, but the umpire gives it strike 2 to Montreza. 2 for 2 on the day with the sacrifice. And make it 2 for 3, and they're 2 down as Brent, after giving up the tying 3-run bomb to Brian Schaub, has come back and looked impressive against Wisniewski and Montreza, who have been impressive so far today. Bottom of the order now for the Tigers. Tyler Pettit. Pettit's presence behind the plate, I think, has been very refreshing here for Trinity fans.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, Josh. And I think there's one point that we've really missed on so far in the broadcast tonight. We've talked about the bat being inserted back in this lineup. We've talked about his blocking ability behind the plate as he strokes that one into right center field. Looks like that'll get down in the gap as he rounds first. That one running all the way to the wall, and he'll try for 3, and he should be in there standing up. The dugout making some noise after a couple outs here after that Brian Schaub home run, but now the Tigers just 90 feet away from taking the lead here in this game again. I think one of the things that we've really missed out of Pettit, you see the replay right here as he strokes that one the other way, is his leadership ability and his presence behind the plate in regards to controlling pitchers. I think it's something that was certainly missed when you had a couple of sophomores get some time behind the plate in last weekend's series. But having Pettit back there saves you some coaches' visits to the mound. He has such a knowledge of this staff and where their release points need to be at. I think that's something that will certainly continue to pay dividends as the Tigers continue throughout this year. But all of a sudden, Baker, an 0-2 count here with 2 outs. Whitewater has the opportunity to run back into the dugout with just 1 pitch, just as soon as Tyler Pettit found his way over to third base.
And the Warhawks will strand Pettit at third. 3-pitch strikeout from Brent on Baker. Will take us to the 8th, but not before Trinity strikes back. Metz and Vonderhaar reach base. And then Brian Schaub with his 2nd home run of the evening clears him. He's got 5 RBI of the 7 runs for Trinity. We are tied at 7. We'll be back on Tiger Network in just a bit. Top of the 8th inning, and Joel Thomas back out there for the Tigers. Padgett stepping in for the Warhawks. Nick on the day has been pretty much on base. 3 out of the 4 plate appearances, 2 walks and a single. He scored 2 runs, and he gives that one flight. And that one will be snagged by Brian Schaub. So 1 down here in the 8th, and that's a little bit more of like how we expected a Joel Thomas performance to go. Come in, throw a fastball up and away, and get the batter to chase, pop it up. Skolin will settle in. He is, this is going to be, Skolin 0 for 4 on the day, but he did reach on an error in his last plate appearance and came around and scored a run. Count 0-1. Left high, evens the count.
Josh, looking through the stats on the night, I think one of the things that jumps out so early on is that one sent right back up the middle. Skolin on base.
There's his first hit for the Warhawks.
One of the things that jumps out immediately is the fact that Whitewater's only hitting 7 of 30, now 8 of 31 on the day. So the Tiger staff as a whole has done a relatively nice job keeping the bats in check from a hit standpoint. For the Warhawks, it's really been that timely hitting, but in addition to that, the Tigers have issued 7 free passes, and you alluded to those errors last inning, the 3 that the Tigers have on the day. And then in addition to that, just some soft hit balls that have found their way down and have allowed some of these Warhawks onto the base paths.
I believe pinch running is number 9. It's hard to tell with that purple on black, but I believe that's Eric Hughes, a sophomore outfielder coming into pinch run for Skolin as Norton steps in. Let's see if the live stats give us any indication on who has checked in. Norton on the day, a sacrifice his last time up, and 2 walks and a hit by pitch before that. Officially 0 for 0 with a run scored. A huge caught stealing of Ezra Gore a few innings ago. Thomas will fire over to first. And back in quickly. I don't believe that the stats crew may not be aware of it. They didn't make too much of a fuss about it, and they kind of snuck in the pinch runner after Skolin got his first hit as a Warhawk. There it goes, and throw down to second, and that will be in the dirt. Baker unable to come up with it. And still on base. As I think that's Hughes, and we'll get to know here on the next pitch as he'll be in front of the camera whether that's a 9 or an 8.
Yeah, and what looked to be a really nice pitch to throw on. That one sent to the right side to Baker over there. Hard to tell if that one was coming off a deflection. Thomas rolls his head back on the mound right there. I think just ultimately a softly hit ball and some more speed on the base pass right there allowed Skolin to reach safely. And after the Tigers again storm back, Whitewater's threatening, as we see right here. Another good pitch from this Tiger staff. Maybe that one perhaps just kicking off the top of Thomas's glove. As you see him in this frame, this shot right here, a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, so Norton on for the first time via his own abilities here. 4th time overall today. And his other plate appearance was a sacrifice. That'll put us down to Ruben. The first pitch, I believe, was fouled off. I'm going to say ball 1.
You have to feel like for Thomas right there, as that one is softly hit to the right side. Baker ranging over, going ahead and taking the lead runner outside of Warhawk at third base, who came in to score.
Yeah, job done for Ruben, bringing in the pinch runner Hughes from third base.
Nice job by Baker right there. Originally looked like he was going to go to first to try and record that out, but recognized that the base runner froze a little bit more so than he might or probably should have. He went ahead and took the out at second base, although the Tigers weren't at any point really going to turn 2 in that scenario. But going back to that soft liner that kicked off the glove of Thomas and the frustration that he showed, that one's hit back up the middle. Baker making a diving stop, able to record that out, flipping it on to Montreza. Really nice play from Baker right there, stopping that one from getting all the way into the outfield, situation where Warhawk potentially could have advanced all the way to third right there, but Baker going full extension, showing his defensive capability and propping himself up just enough to get the ball over to Montreza and recording the final out and limiting the damage here in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, it looks like Colt Harris was at second base here in that inning, so it'll be Harris over there at second. But, yeah, quite a few changes in that inning that I think we're just catching ourselves up with. But, yeah, fantastic defensive play there from Harris. And, yeah, so we head to the bottom half of the 8th. I think we kind of expected this one to be somewhat close. 8-7 Whitewater after 7.5. We'll be back for the last inning and a half here in just a bit. Bottom half of the 8th, and it will not be Brolick. It'll be a pinch hitter here for the Tigers. And that is also not Ethan Clark, so let's give it just a minute here to see who's wearing number 9 in the Grays tonight. As I believe 9 and 17 is going to be Christian Holloway wearing number 9 in the Grays until the new Gray unis make their way onto campus, or especially his. Talking with the equipment manager, I think his had a pretty sizable rip in it as they ordered him a new one. So normally number 6, it's Holloway wearing number 9 here today. And new pitcher here for the Warhawks is going to be Pettit. So it's Tyler Pettit for the Tigers. And then on the other side for the Warhawks, it's going to be Joey Pettit, a freshman pitcher out of West Bend, Wisconsin. Working quickly here, now 2-2. That one outside will run the count full. Tigers have had success getting the top of the order on. And we'll try to keep you updated on the score bug as it is currently frozen. That one into right field. And a great catch out there and right by DeMeyer will retire Holloway.
Yeah, Holloway coming in with a really nice at-bat right there. Did a nice job to battle in it and force it all the way full. Ultimately saw that breaking ball with that final pitch. Did a nice job of sitting back on it and sending it the opposite way, but unfortunately just right at a Warhawk defender and DeMeyer out there in right field.
Ezra Gore stepping in, fouling off the first pitch. Looks like the stats are caught back up. Look like when they try to put in the substitution, they hit the wrong function key and it kind of froze the stats program, but they are back. And Pettit working quickly again, fires that one up and high, now 1-2.
Yeah, not a bad pitch right there from Pettit. But Norton behind the plate for the Warhawks, setting that spot on the outside part of the plate. Wasn't able to get that pitch as Gore again sticks the bat out there, and Barrel's able to find the baseball, but gets a surprising amount behind that one and sends it all the way out to Hughes in left field. As we see it here again, that breaking ball from Pettit with a lot of break on it. That pitch not particularly close to the zone. And again, Ezra doing just everything he can, but unfortunately and a bit surprisingly, put too much behind that baseball.
So MJ Metz, 1 for 3 on the day, 2 runs scored. Single in his last at-bat back in the 7th. Came around and scored on the Schaub home run. Before that, he scored on the Schaub home run after walking in the 4th. Now ground out to third. Rubin comes up, fires strong. We go to the 9th. Whitewater looking to extend their lead. Trinity trying to keep it at just a run because they will need the bottom half of the 9th if they want to win this game. And we'll be back here in just a few minutes. Back out there for the top of the 9th inning will be Joel Thomas. He'll face the top of the order, Zach Campbell. Coming back around for his 6th plate appearance. He's 1 for 5 on the day, but he has 3 RBI. And those 3 RBI coming off a single, scored 2 in the 2nd, and then he reached on an error back in the 7th, then allowed another one to come across. That's a chopper over to Montreza. Fires up off the line, and making the play is going to be Metz after he initially missed the tag. There'll be 1 down.
Yeah, but a good job by Metz on this play to just fully come off the base.
A great job by Campbell to avoid that tag, but then once you run past the bag and you can't get back to it, there's really no hope of making your way back between Metz blocking the bag. So easy recording there. And Metz has done a great job switching over from third base, where he's been his entire career here at Trinity, making the move over to first base. And I think, early on it was, looking at it as, is this truly the right move? And combine how well he's actually played over there defensively, given the flexibility that now the coaching staff has along the infield. I think it's the move that they were hoping would work out, and I think defensively it's shown to be pretty solid so far.
Yeah, it seemed like over the course of the past couple of years that it hasn't been a weak spot in the defense necessarily, but it's never been one that's been truly occupied by a real stopper over there, someone that you feel comfortable with throwing out there game after game. It was typically positioned by committee, for lack of a better term. We saw a number of guys spend time over there defensively last year, but as you mentioned, the rest of the infield, especially those middle infield positions, have a plethora of players that are more than capable defensively. So we've called Wisniewski's name a couple of times already here tonight. Talked about Jack Baker and Colt Harris, who was his defensive replacement over at second base, and Montreza playing at short tonight, who are realistically all interchangeable, as that one sent to Wisniewski over there on the left side of the infield to record the final out. But as you mentioned, having Metz over there at first base makes this defensive infield even stronger.
And I have to double check, but that feels like the first 3 up, 3 down inning for the Tigers, and it is. And that comes in the 9th at a time when they desperately needed to escape without giving up a run. We head to the bottom half of the 9th. Tigers need 1 to keep this alive. If they get 2, they walk it off and move to 4 and 3. We'll be back to find out if they can do that here on the Tiger Network in just a minute. Going to be Jack Vonderhaar leading us off here for the bottom half of the 9th. If he's able to find his way on base, he'll be followed by Schaub, Wisniewski, Montreza, if they need it. Pettit for the Warhawks, Joey Pettit on the plate, and that one up and for a strike. We've seen that called a strike tonight. We've also seen that more often than not called a ball. Again, I think anything inside on guys has been called more often than not. And Vondi lifts that one down the right field line. Going back on it, looking up. We are tied. Jack Vonderhaar makes it 8-8 here in the 9th.
We talked earlier in this one about that ball that fell in left field in between a couple of guys. And it seems like that's exactly what a struggling Vonderhaar needed to really get himself going. This is the guy that we've been waiting to emerge all season long. And that was an absolute no-doubter, as you see that falling well over those trees out there in right field above that national championship sign. And the job doesn't get any easier for Pettit right here as Schaub, who's already left the yard twice here in this one, steps into the batter's box. And it seems, as you see that camera in the Tiger dugout right now, there's a little bit of different buzz.
The night that 2 of the Tigers really needed, Brian Schaub with 2 home runs already. So he's up there hacking away, now 0-2 on the count from Pettit. But Vonderhaar and Schaub, really just struggling for what they are hitters-wise. Having kind of a coming-out party tonight. Maybe enough to get them going on the year. And that'll be a check swing. Should be a strike 3, and it is. I know Schaub's not going to like the call, but initially it looked like he went around.
Yeah, but what a great pitch from Pettit right there to respond in that bat after you give up the game-tying home run, facing a guy that's already hit a couple. Really important to jump ahead, as he did so right there, 0-2, and then to have the faith in your catcher to absolutely bury that curveball in the dirt. It's just a great response from the freshman. And it continues right there. So he hits his spot on the outside part of the plate, but Wisniewski now already has a walk-off in his career in the Tiger uniform. Count draws even there, 1-1, mirroring the number on his jersey. We talked so much about his tendency to use the entire field as a hitter that sometimes we forget about the pop in his bat. So no matter what here, he's a guy that you want up in the batter's box as he sends that one down the right field line. The Warhawks doing a great job there defensively, though. That's DeMeyer playing a little bit close to the line, I'm sure, trying to take away any doubles from these Tiger hitters, keep them out of scoring position for as long as possible. But it's another really hard hit ball off the bat of Wisniewski right there as you see the replay.
Ooh. Tough hop on the first baseman. And Padgett just, I mean, that there's nothing you can do about that. That hit up around the shoulder area off the hop. Neville's in as a pinch hitter now for the Tigers. First pitch down. While you were talking, I was talking back with the control room. They showed me the Schaub check swing, and I definitely felt like it was really close. I still feel as if he probably did go around, so I think the right call was probably made there on the strikeout. And that one's going to be a breaking ball down and away, 2-0.
We talked earlier in this game a little bit about Wisniewski on the base paths. Last time he reached first base, we said that he wasn't the most likely to be on the move, but in the situation here in the bottom of the ninth, a ball in the gap certainly has the capacity to score. Wisniewski might not be off on a straight steal, but certainly has the speed to come all the way around and score the game-winning run for the Tigers right here.
And nobody up in the bullpen for Whitewater, so this is Pettit's to deal with one way or the other. Neville's fouls that one off and makes count now 2-2.
Such a difficult position to be in. Have your number called right here, bottom of the ninth, with the opportunity to win a baseball game, having not stepped into the batter's box on the season. But when you look at it from the other side, what a great opportunity to cement your lane in a lineup at a later point in time.
Chop foul. Yeah, you know, it's not really surprising right now. You know, for those that have played for Coach Scannell and for those who have played college baseball, you probably get a sense of the same feeling. But, you know, the coaches are looking to throw out guys to see what they're going to do in high-pressure situations, see if they can find somebody that can go up there and face down the adversity. Neville's will give chase on that one, and that will be 2 down. And that'll take us to Pettit here. Pettit with a triple in his last at-bat, his first hit of the season. He'll be looking to follow up as Pettit will square off against Pettit. If he's able to reach, it's back to the top of the order, but instead of being Jack Baker, it's going to be Colt Harris due up, who has not had a plate appearance yet today. Took over for Baker at second back in the 7th inning. See Wisniewski over at first. Pettit delivers. Breaking ball in for a strike. I would say it looked like it dropped out of the zone, but it was in that inside part of the plate. Kind of looks like a pitch that we've seen called a strike pretty much all evening. 8-8 here in the 9th. Will we see a 10th? No, it's fouled off. 0-2.
And this is a scenario in which Pettit playing catcher has really paid dividends for him. to be behind 0-2 in the count. This is really where he's in the past displayed his knowledge of the strike zone. He does a really awesome job of laying off those difficult pitches that guys like Pettit can put so close.
Pettit gives this one a ride down the left field line. Looking back, it is gone! Tyler Pettit, 2-run homer to walk it off for Trinity here in the first game of the series. And the Tigers will take this one 10-8.
And he comes home and stomps on home plate, deservingly so. Someone that we talked about a ton in today's broadcast for a number of different reasons, but one of them that we didn't really mention was the pop in this guy's bat. He's someone that struggled in that opening series out in Birmingham. Those 3 games, he went hitless. He was sick last weekend, and then here today, his first home game of the year, he delivers with the biggest shot of the game, sending that one flying over the left field wall and giving the Tigers the victory in the Thursday opener.
It was Jack Vonderhaar to tie it at 8. And then going down almost on a knee, Tyler Pettit sends this one right down that left field line. Talked about it being about 310, but you've got the double wall there, about 20 feet tall. He knew it as soon as he let it go. And he got a splash down in the outdoor pool. And a fantastic ending for Tiger fans here in Game 1 of what we can hope that if the rest of the 3 games of this series are anywhere close to what we saw here tonight, this is going to be a fantastic series. We are back on the air tomorrow, 3 o'clock for Game 2 of this series, followed after that with the doubleheader sometime around 6:30. But I thank everybody for tuning in. Luke, your overall thoughts on what we just saw here, especially here from the Tigers in the 9th inning.
Well, Josh, for a lot of this one, especially those parts where we went back and forth with this Whitewater team being able to re-grab the lead at a number of different points throughout it. We felt like this was a Tiger team that obviously has the talent up and down this lineup offensively. They have the talent in the bullpen. It's just a matter for them on any given day of putting everything together, and that's ultimately what happened in this 9th inning. Thomas went back out there on the mound after giving up runs in consecutive innings, and he shut this Warhawk team down, and he gave the opportunity to the offense to get them back in it and ultimately to win it. And it was really on the backs of some guys who we've been waiting on in Vonderhaar, who absolutely smoked the ball out of here to right field, and Pettit in that final at-bat, who won it on the day for the Tigers. So when they play this way, a way that we know that they're capable of, then they're a ton of fun to watch, and they're a team that can do some really special things on this season. Agreed.
And, for the Whitewater fans, if you're still with us, a tough start to the season, but, that's a team that I think looks every bit of their top 10 ranking. From what we saw here, it's a lineup that I think that over the course of the next 2 days and the next 3 games is going to be very tough for Trinity pitching. I'm excited to see what we've got in store between these 2 teams going forward. So can't wait for Game 2 of the series tomorrow, and the doubleheader that we have starting 3 o'clock. And thank you to our student staff for helping us put all of this on, for our camera operators and our staff in the control room on switchboard, replays, and graphics. Thank you so much for all of your efforts, and thank you to the fans tuning in today. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll be back tomorrow to bring you more here from Trinity University, Division III baseball, Trinity and Wisconsin-Whitewater. Have a great night.